question. I've been in set of four, and
Mhm.
I was doing the first inquiry of the first lesson of Fetter Four,
Yeah.
um, where you have us think of a want and explode it and make it big. And so I'm running into an issue because the want that I have is in regards to a salary that I walked away from. So I
Mm.
quit my job about 4 years ago, made very good money, and I'm watching, doing the math in my bank account. Anyway, so the want is that I want that salary back and all the feelings of what it would bring. And the problem that I'm running into is I've been there. I felt the calm, the being able to go on vacation, the being able to replace a car, to not have. I've felt all those things, so that when you say, "Well, it's not going to happen," I'm like, "The heck it is! It has. It
Yeah.
has." I've been in that peaceful, non-anxious, and so I get a little irritated. Like, yes, it would change. It would. I know how I would feel. I know. So I wonder if you could speak to that a little bit, to um, how to get out of that rut of I want it because I know how it did make me feel, to not have to worry about, car repairs or
Mm.
whatever. Can you help me kind of push me
Yeah,
through
yeah.
that? I'm not
It's
sure.
it's a bit like that, when you were young and a teenager and you had a really toxic boyfriend and then you walked away from the relationship because it was so toxic, and 8 months down the line you had forgotten all the bad things. You only remembered all the good things, and it was so nice, it was so cozy. You said that you walked away from the job. Why did you walk away?
Um, it was during the pandemic, and it just was so soul crushing to continue in the role. I was a teacher for 21 years, and it just
Mm.
got really, really difficult during the pandemic with the masking
Mm.
and I don't know, education is just a difficult place to be right now
Mm.
anyway. And so I felt that for my own sanity, I couldn't continue. So
So
I did it on purpose. And then I have a lot of guilt about that as well. Like I couldn't
yeah,
just suck
yeah.
it up.
Yeah, because I think now we're beginning to get to the real part of it, and the part that you're diverting with by talking about the salary. Because like you said, that you did it, for your own sanity, and yet you have guilt about prioritizing your own sanity. I think that is a direction we might should at least investigate a little bit in that. Do you have other experiences in your life that when you prioritize you, when you have a very clear no, and you prioritize you, that then you get guilt afterwards for prioritizing you by having a very clear no? Are you the type that I can ask you to pick me up at the airport at 4 in the morning and you will come and pick me up?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. So
Yeah.
when you suddenly have that, okay, enough is enough. I'm not doing that anymore. And then you're going like, okay, I'm amazing salary. I need to preserve my energy. I need to prioritize this. Obviously, if that was one of the first times that you did it, it was a very rookie experience. You didn't really know how to do it, and then you're, you know, plagued by guilt afterwards for prioritizing you. But that is actually where I would recommend you to look. It's into that you I can recommend you to go to the six feta where there's one a lesson called clear boundaries,
Okay.
because it's very much about feeling that it's okay for you to say no just for the sake of saying no. It's okay for you. I'm not talking about the teaching job and the salary and all of that, because I really think that is just your diversion.
Mhm.
Thinking about how much money you made and how much money you would have now if you had stayed is just a diversion from you actually saying no to something that was toxic for you.
Yeah. I can feel some like emotions coming up. So you're
Yeah.
probably right. Damn it. Can't I just look at my bank account?
Yeah, yeah. Let's talk about the money instead. So much better. So
Yeah.
much better.
That's easier.
Yeah, yeah, I know. But it's really that I would recommend you to really look into um your assumption about a no, what that means, because a lot of people they have that feeling that that I'm putting my foot down and I'm saying no and I'm absolutely and I'm all that, but that is not a no. A no is just a response like a yes. There's no difference. There's no defensiveness, there's no attack, there's no anything. It's just a response just like yes. Then you can say no, and that's it. But if you've never been raised with clear boundaries and you never have had that feeling of um I don't want to say justification because it's not what I mean. It's another word than justification. Second language here. It's another word than justification because justification means that you need to justify why you say no. If you have never been taught that it's okay to say no just because you don't want to, and that's fine, then you're out of practice with it. And then you would need to look for justification to why, and you don't owe a justification to anyone for anything. You can just say no. And you need to start practicing saying no, even to the small stuff. Would you like a cup of tea? No, I don't want a cup of tea. Just to feel how does that actually feel? Um, would you like some apple pie? No, I don't really feel, but I've spent all afternoon making this apple pie. And then you say yes. Because you feel guilty
Yeah.
that I have spent all afternoon making the apple pie, but your no was there first. And no is
Mm-hmm.
a final, it's a final. It ends there. So start to look into how malleable your borders and your boundaries are. How malleable is your no? How much can I guilt you into an okay then? Because
Yeah,
you're uncomfortable with a no.
I can definitely see that. Yeah, just in looking back and growing up and things like that.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, we did what we were told. Doesn't matter.
Mm.
yeah. I think
Okay.
that what you are forgetting in the equation when you do the bank account, it is that you also in that you're selling your sanity. So when you are tallying up on your bank account how much would be there, what
Hmm.
was sold was your sanity.
Yeah,
And how is that a fair price? I mean, what you would have on the bank account, is that the price for your sanity?
right. No, I know, and I've thought of that, and I go back and say, but it wasn't that bad. You could have pushed through,
Mm.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how a toxic relationship works.
Yeah.
That's how that works. That Michelle, she says, "No, I don't want to do that." And then Michelle's evil twin sister called Michelle, she goes like, "Come on. It was so easy. And you had like lots of holidays when the school was off and there was so many benefits with it. You could absolutely have stuck that out. The pension, oh my God, the pension. Why didn't you just stick it out?" But that's Michelle's evil twin sister. So you have a very, very clear no. You have a very, I would not have been happy there. I would not have been happy. No, but you could have stuck it out. It wasn't that bad, was it? That is every toxic relationship in the book. I mean, that is toxic relationship 101. So you
So
really
how do I
need,
break up with her? Yeah, that's
Mm.
exactly, you were in my head. That's exactly the conversation I've been having for the
yeah,
past 4 years, and how
yeah,
you ruined your kids' lives. And, I've just beaten the heck out of myself.
Mm.
yep, yeah.
Yeah.
But if when your evil twin says that, how you ruined your kid's life, then I would like for you to have to take the sanity, Michelle, because you would be insane.
Mm.
You know, what will ruin your kid's life more?
Yeah.
Having an insane mom with money on the account, or having a sane mom that is not going traveling for holidays?
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. So so when I am beating myself up and I don't even catch it, I just let it spiral. Is there any, like, how
Yeah.
can I start?
Question, question.
Mm.
Who is saying that? Who is saying that? Where does that evil twin come from?
And is it true?
Yeah.
And another thing I would like for you to look at is also your idea that you can only earn that kind of money by selling your sanity.
Yeah. And I, yeah. And I find myself when those feelings start to come up about that, I tend to find myself just looking for a job rather than to try to stop the feeling of whatever the feeling is. I think.
Yes.
Well, I was gonna say that's because I love everything you said. But we also don't want to avoid the issue of when you have that. Well, okay, when we're doing any of this work, it's really important to also recognize that we are, biological entities living in a world where unfortunately money is necessary for, basic survival. And so we also don't want to discount that we also have to have enough money to survive in some way. But, I love that you're pointing past that to that element of things. I know also that yes, it is possible that in certain circumstances, when you have more money or something, that you're not worried about money because you have money. You can do things that you couldn't do otherwise. That's normal. But it's the sort of same sort of thing where when we talk about like people living in a monastery, you don't have to
Mm.
encounter a lot of hardship and difficulty in a monastery. So it's great. But then when you come out, all of a sudden we're not quite as enlightened as we thought we are when we actually have to pay taxes and deal with drivers and things on the road. So I think it's also important to look at, okay, so now you're in a situation where things come up around money. And one, I think is all incredibly helpful, what Pernilla just laid out. But then also when you are having those thoughts of, I wish I had that salary again, or I wish I had, those things that came with it, look now. The idea is that it was the money that brought something, a feeling of security, a feeling of abundance, a feeling of ability to do things, a feeling of lack of worry, whatever it is. Notice that those are the things that you now feel that you either have that you don't want or don't have that you do want.
Mm.
So now I feel insecure. Now I feel afraid or a
Like a
feeling of lack
like a
or
bad mom.
yeah,
I can't give my
exactly.
children what they deserve.
Yeah, exactly. So these are the things which it wasn't um the money was keeping you from having to feel these experiences, right? You were they just didn't come up because it wasn't relevant. Now it's something though that you can actually encounter and see the feeling of lack of security or inadequacy or whatever it is that you're encountering that goes way deeper than however much money is actually in your bank account.
Mm.
So it's all pointing you back to those places where the money is just kind of keeping you from needing to feel it, or at the very least, it's a good excuse for, um, looking back on it now, thinking, I didn't have any of that because I had the money in the bank account. It is possible, as you were saying, that if we went back in the actual situation, these things were showing up in other guises. It just wasn't, yes, you could take holidays. Yes, you didn't have to worry
But then,
about
but
getting a
then,
car, but
sorry,
yeah,
but then you could take holidays not to feel that you are
exactly.
not a good mom.
Yeah, you know,
Because the feeling of not being a good mom was there, but now you could take holidays and go, well, at least I'm taking the kids on
yeah,
a holiday, which means I'm a good mom.
yeah, exactly.
Now you can't take them on holiday. The feeling is the same of not being a good mom. Now you just can't divert from it anymore. So the feeling is the same.
Yeah.
So on the absolute relative level, yeah, it is useful to have, a job where we have enough money coming in to, maintain ourselves, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it's to see how much that is being amplified for the sake of not feeling something that is really uncomfortable, emotionally or in terms of like our toxic starting point or something like that, that really needs to be investigated. And the money is just an idea that, well, if I had that, I wouldn't have to feel this anymore. But it's coming out in all different ways that we're often just not aware of.
Mm.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That resonates. And I guess the part is that healing aspect of when now that I see that it's coming up, I'm not I'm not practiced at giving the space and the for it to
Yeah.
be seen.
Yeah.
I have to learn.
Yeah.
Okay. Onward then.
Honored.
Yeah. I love
Good
that.
luck with it.
Love that.
All
Yeah.
right.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you
Thank you
again.
so
so
much. Thank you so much. And
Thank
thanks for
you.
all your work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lovely
Yeah,
seeing
it's been great.
Oh,
Thank
good.
you.
you. Thank
Good.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.
We have created a course of our first Feather material. This course will walk you step by step through all of the ways in which identification is created and selfing happens. If you've been struggling to see through the self structure or have that first awakening shift, this course contains hundreds of tools to help you discover the selfing mechanisms when they're happening, and then see through the illusion of identification that are created. Along with over 14 hours of videos, this $49 course contains a full book worth of summaries, extrapolations on the videos, written inquiry suggestions, and other text. So work slowly, leave time for integration. This is powerful material and it can be life-changing.